My name's Damien Dygan. I'm a specialist with Donington Auctions, and here we find ourselves today in the fantastic surrounds of the collection of the late David Jones. His garage in Cremorne is filled with fantastic memorabilia, signs, models, and of course, the star of the show, this wonderful Ferrari 246 GT Dino. The Dino represented a milestone car for Ferrari, bridging the gap between the classic era of the 50s and 60s and the modern era of Ferraris we know today. And in many ways, this is the precursor to all the mid-engine Ferraris that followed. So the 308s, the 355s, 360s, and on to the cars we know today. But the Dino's V6 engine dates right back to the late 1950s and was actually conceived by Enzo's son, Alfredino, who died tragically young, as a lighter, more compact version of a racing engine. And it was used in the sports racing cars of the late 1950s and then a mid-engine version into the early 60s. And it was only towards the end of the 1960s that Ferrari decided that the motor would have another application, which is in a mid-engine road car that we see here today. And this was really significant for Ferrari in that it was the first production road car to use a mid-engine layout. The Dino V6 sits transversely here behind the driver. And it was also the first Ferrari that was really available to the masses. It was aimed at a market where people might be looking at a 911S or something of that ilk. So it was considerably more affordable than Ferrari's usual V12 front engine cars of the era. The Dino was produced over 3 series, the L followed by the M, and what we have here today, the final E series, which was the most resolved version. All just slightly different in little details here and there, but basically the same car. Wonderful, wonderful styling by Pininfarina was then put into production by Scaglietti, and you can see why people love the Dino so much today. It's just a stunning piece of design, not a bad line on it. It's a mix between the classic Ferrari elements and the sports racing cars like the 330 P4s and so on. It's just a wonderful piece of design. It was actually sold new through Colonel Ronnie Hoare's Maranello concessionaires in the United Kingdom in 1972. And we believe it's perhaps only one of 2 cars originally specified in Verde Medio, which is a mid-green, and the beige leather upholstery, when most Dinos would have had vinyl inside. And this particular car has been in the late David Jones collection, we understand, for just under 40 years, which is quite remarkable when you consider the car's actually not that much older. And at some point in its life, it was repainted in the classic Ferrari racing red, which we see here today, as were most Dinos. It's very rare for Dinos to be in their original colours, but most people forget that in the day, the majority weren't red. They were sold in everything from greens to blues to whites to yellows. So it's always very interesting to find out the history of the Dino, the specific car and what its colour combination was originally. So enough talking about the car. Let's take it out on the road and see how it drives. So I think one of the things that makes the Dino such an appealing car today is just how accessible driving it is. It's not intimidating. The steering's particularly light. The seats are really comfortable. The driving position's actually not that Italian. You're not sort of in a contorted position. Even for relatively tall drivers, there's still plenty of headroom. And these leather seats are really quite comfortable, certainly for short trips anyway, and don't sweat anywhere near as much as the vinyl would. The mouse hair dash, no reflections from that on a sunny day like this. That makes a big difference with this wonderful curved glass windscreen. So you can see why they adopted this material. The Dino is just such a fantastic car to be in. It sounds brilliant. It's got a wonderful exhaust note from the V6 engine, the gear-driven cam. Everything about that motor just screams racing technology. So you feel special driving it, and it's a car that brings out the best in people too. People love seeing the Dinos on the road. But as we said, with the Dino, it's not about ultimate performance, 0 to 100 times, number of horsepower, that type of thing. It's just the way this car feels and drives, how it sounds, how it looks. It really does take you back to a different era when driving a car like this was something really special. Back in the 70s, you just didn't see cars like this on the road every day. You know, there were so few Ferraris in Australia at the time, and it really was an event to see a car like this, and it's still like that today. So it has that really special quality that's missing in just so many modern cars. So the Dino may not be the most powerful Ferrari, may not be the fastest Ferrari, but you don't need that power to have a fantastic time behind the wheel. It just feels so good to drive. The controls are light, which is in complete contrast to most Ferraris and Italian exotics of the era, which are really heavy in the steering. The gearbox is fantastic once it's warmed up. You've got the classic open-gated 5-speed gearbox here, which allows absolute precision when it comes to changing gears. Everything about driving the Dino is about driver involvement and driver pleasure. And the best part about this car is the view. Looking straight ahead, you can swear you're in a sports prototype running down the Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans in the 1960s. It's got that classic mid-engine feel. The car's handling is absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, we're not going to get anywhere near its limits driving around the Yarra Boulevard here today, but the Dino is, in its day, regarded as one of the best handling cars of all on the road, and it still feels so really modern and wonderful to drive today. Well, it's been a great experience driving the Dino. Really fortunate to have been able to take it out for a run this morning. A couple of fine details that are important with cars of this caliber. We've got the books here in the original leather wallet, and also very important that you have the tool pouch. We've got the jack as well. Unfortunately, the number plate is not included with the car, but it's going to be sold separately. This fabulous 4-digit heritage plate will also be offered in the collection of the late David Jones.